Okay, it's 5:35 and we're starting. Thank you to everybody for coming. This is a presentation where we're gonna tell you about how we built a war crimes investigations unit investigating Russian war crimes in Ukraine. So if you're in the wrong room, this is your chance. And in the, I'm gonna talk a bit about who we are, including introductions a bit later, but in the very beginning, I'd like us to see a little video. And I'm really bad at this.
We're launching an investigation into the terrible tortures committed by Russia against Ukrainian prisoners of war at the Yevheniia prison. This is more than just a documentary. It's an earnest call for justice. These survivors' stories need to be heard, their pain acknowledged, and the perpetrators held accountable. Thousands of Ukrainian prisoners of war and civilians are still held hostage by the Russian military. Together, we can unveil the truth and demand that the world stand against such atrocities.
Еще все хвастался, то есть такой маленький, а удар у меня такой хлесткий. Вот, ремень наматывал на руку и ремнем шандарахал постоянно.
Там була кімната, куди проводили хлопців, де їх катували по декілька годин.
Вони їх заматували скотчем і дуже сильно били.
This is our third documentary about Russian war crimes against Ukrainians. And, unfortunately, it won't be the last. Each documentary we make is a call for justice. By watching our documentary on the Kyiv Independent YouTube channel, you're not just a viewer, you're a witness. Stand with us, share their stories, and consider supporting our ongoing mission by becoming a member.
So this was the trailer for one of the 4 investigative films that we produced so far. A little bit about who we are. Yes, so quick round of introductions. My name is Olga Rudenko. I'm the editor-in-chief of the Kyiv Independent. And with me today is Yevheniia Motorevska, a Ukrainian investigative journalist who runs the War Crimes Investigations Unit in the Kyiv Independent. And a little bit about the Kyiv Independent, if you've never heard of us. We are a Ukrainian English language outlet, the biggest and fastest growing one. And we were launched just 3 months before the full-scale invasion of Ukraine started. And we have since grown, and we have become the world's window into Ukraine and what's happening in Ukraine and the voice of Ukraine in the world. Just a shout out to anybody who's supporting us as our members. If you're in the room, thank you. Our work is possible thanks to 11,000 members who support the Kyiv Independent. So just a quick explanation about why we are even doing this, because investigating war crimes is not something that when we launched the Kyiv Independent that we ever thought we would have to do. And so in the beginning of 2023, we already understood that we need to explore new formats of how to talk to the global audience, to the English-speaking world about what's happening in Ukraine. Because we were, of course, already experiencing the drop in there is an attention span, but there's also the fatigue of, there's only so many times that you can read a story about something horrible happening in a country that you have no connection to. So we were thinking, in terms of how do we keep performing our mission? How do we keep reaching the audiences? How do we find new ways to talk to them? And this decision came quite naturally to launch a new department, a new unit that would focus on Russian war crimes, and not just focus on this new thing, but also do it in a new format, in the format of investigative documentaries. This was a big decision for us because, at the time we did some investigations, but not of war crimes. We did some video, but not on the scale of documentaries. So we were very lucky to get Zhenya on board with us, and we launched the unit in March 2023, and Yevheniia can tell a bit about what are the challenges that we were facing.
Yeah, we have a lot of different challenges, and when we decided to launch War Crimes Investigation Unit, there were few journalists in Ukraine with relevant experience. Of course, in Ukraine we have powerful investigative journalism, but most of our colleagues before full-scale invasion focused on corruption, and it was challenging for us, gather team, because if you would like to investigate Russian atrocities, you need to have a little bit other knowledges and skills, but we did it. Other challenge for us, of course, documentaries is a very expensive product, and production of all our documentaries usually takes 6-8 months. I'm not sure that I can share details of our costs, but I can say that it's very expensive. Our CEO says that I can.
I'd say they're very expensive on the Ukrainian level. On the level of some of the organizations that you work at, probably you would not find them so expensive. I think we're in general doing them cheaper than our colleagues in international media outlets.
But we're talking about tens of thousands dollars. And other challenge for us, of course, this work can be very hard on the team, including their mental health. And I feel that our journalists, our team, are getting tired and burn out. At the Kyiv Independent, we have some psychological support programs, retreats, but it's very difficult to conduct investigation during the ongoing war.
Yeah, as a journalist in Ukraine, you are dealing with difficult topics all the time now, of course, but this here we're talking about hiring a team that would just spend all of their days looking into the most horrible things that have happened since the start of the full-scale invasion, and it would be their job. So it's a quite a big ask to to have people do that.
Mm-hmm. And now we have raised a small team. There are only 6 full-time employees, including myself, and a pool of freelancers, mainly a creative team. In this way, we try to...
So the way it works is each of the 3 journalists is working on their own film. So there are 3 films in production at all times, and they share the rest of the resources. So there is this one author who is leading the documentary, and then they are using the help of the researcher and the director and the producer. So the researcher, director, and producer are working on 3 films at the same time.
Next one. Yeah, and as Olga mentioned before, during the first year of our operation, we released 4 documentaries. I will tell a little bit more about this film later. Now our team is working on 3 new documentaries, and I hope that the next one we will publish in the end of May. It will be a story about sexual violence. During our first year of operation, we received 2 awards, one national and one international. And we are looking for different ways of distribution our documentaries. And one of them, there were screenings of our documentaries abroad. And during this year, our team or our partners could set up around 20 screenings in different countries, including the United States. Moreover, we are preparing our documentaries in 2 languages, Ukrainian and English. Our English version documentaries you can find on our YouTube channel, but we are cooperating with some Ukrainian national broadcasters, and also you can watch our documentaries in Ukraine TV channels.
Just want to add here a challenge that we didn't really anticipate when we started is that platforms, especially YouTube, which is the most important one in this case, are really fighting against this type of content. YouTube doesn't want war crimes content on their platform. And just let that sink in, because video is the most powerful medium to share this type of content, and YouTube is the main video platform in the world, and YouTube is fighting back against content about war crimes. When we publish something on YouTube, like a new documentary that took months and months of work, YouTube slaps the strictest possible restrictions on the documentary, and it can be really frustrating. Well, a bit about principles of our work. So something that is very important to understand that I think got the bell, so I just something that is very, very important to understand is we are not official investigators, we are journalists. We are not investigating Russian war crimes in the sense of, we're not then charging anybody. We're not, we are doing it for, to create these documentaries, to raise the awareness of these crimes, and if in the process we can help the official investigation, then it happens. Like, for example, they ask us to share some findings, but we do it in a way that we prioritize the story. So Ukraine registered over 100,000 Russian war crimes, and there was really a lot of material. So how do you pick what to work with? Our principle is you pick the most brutal and the most consequential, and something that shows the systemic character of this. This is the overarching, I think, goal that we have, is to show that Russian war crimes is not something singular. It's not one soldier who went rogue and did something horrible. No, it's actually a pattern. That's why in the documentaries that if you watch them, if there is a documentary about Ukrainian children killed, the cases that are going to be described are going to be deliberately the ones picked from different regions of Ukraine to show that different units of the Russian army in different places did the same thing, to show the systemic character of this. And what's important, we try to establish not just the direct perpetrators, not just the soldier who did something horrible, but also who was in charge of this, who was his commander, who is the person who was responsible for not making the soldier do what they did, and who failed to punish the soldier. And important, we don't I'm tired, it's my third panel today. We don't sensationalize. You can read the words, on the screen. We're not a Yale newspaper. We're not trying to gain traffic from Russian war crimes. It's not like, scandal, something happened. It's about trying to make a nuanced work and trying to find patterns and trying to do analytical work and investigative work, and trying to be very sensitive and sensible about how we work with the victims, because it's very important. Because we're gonna do this work, we're gonna move to the next story. They're gonna live with what happened to them to the end of their lives. And you really, Yevheniia can tell more about this, but you really need to be careful to not traumatize somebody more than they were already traumatized. How do you do that?
There is one of the most important part of our work, and for instance, there is a representative of Dart Center here, and there is a program of Columbia University, and this team developed rules how to work with survivors, with victims. And of course, it's very a sensitive topic for us, because we conduct interviews with women who were experienced sexual violence, with former POWs, and sometimes, yes, we we made mistake, but we learn and we're working on it.
So a little bit about just very quickly, an overview of the 4 films that we have published. The first one.
Yeah, Prudit was our first documentary, and I can say that this film received the most attention from our audience and our partners. We released this documentary last summer, and this year we conduct 7 screenings in the United States and in other the EU countries. And when we were preparing this documentary, our journalists were able to identify Ukrainian children who were relocated from occupied Mariupol to Russia. And we could identify Russian-controlled officials involved in the forced deportation of children from Mariupol to Russia too.
So we found that this topic, the deportation of Ukrainian children, really speaks to the audience, even more than we expected it to. We actually considered dropping the topic when we were doing it because we thought at some moment that there was already a lot written about it. So thank God that we didn't. This film, it's still the most requested one for screenings. And there's a QR code on the slide that leads to the YouTube channel where you can watch the film. Second one.
There was bullet holes, and our colleagues was investigating cases of intentional murders of Ukrainian children. Total over 500 Ukrainian kids were killed during the full-scale invasion, but we decided to investigate that cases where Russian soldiers realized that they were facing with kids, but they still open.
Yeah. They're not accidental murders. This is when children were actually targeted.
Yeah, and the next one.
This is the one that the trailer that you saw in the beginning is for this one, Faces of Torture, and out of the films here, this is the one that was prepared personally by Yevheniia, because remember when you saw the 3 journalists there? The 3 journalists includes her, head of the unit, and she also produces documentaries, which is quite amazing.
Yeah, and in this case, we were investigating mistreatment and torture in POW camp called Olenivka. And we were able to identify local guards who tortured Ukrainian soldiers. We could identify the administration of this camp. They were collaborators and Ukrainian citizens. And very important findings for us, we identify a high-ranking official from the Russian penal service who oversaw the camp's operation.
And this is the one where we really fought against YouTube, because YouTube really wanted to, this is a film that got the strictest restrictions, and we had to re-upload it, and it was really frustrating.
And our last film, Destroy in Whole or in Part, we released it a few weeks ago. And there was more analytical than investigative story. Our colleague prepares this film, the story about genocidal policy against Ukraine. And this film explains very well the true aim of Russia's aggression against Ukraine. And I highly recommend to watch it, because you can understand everything about goals of Russians.
The name of the film is actually the line from the convention that defines what genocide is: to destroy a nation in whole or in part. And just to really briefly about the impact of...
all our documentaries have impact in Ukraine, but I would like to pay attention to our first documentary, Uprooted, because in this case we have some significant achievement. President Zelensky and the European Union imposed sanctions on a Russian-controlled Ukrainian collaborator official who, according to our investigation, was involved in the abduction of children, and you know that the International Criminal Court is investigating deportation of Ukrainian kids, and last year the ICC issued arrest warrant, but after our publication, Ukrainian lawyers have submitted additional information to the ICC, including 3 cases from our documentary.
And we don't do what we do for awards, but it's been really, you know, we mentioned at the beginning how this kind of work is really, it can take a big toll on the journalists who are doing it. So it's really important that, you know, sometimes an award can be you know, a supportive thing, and it's nice to have our work recognized, and it's something that can just additionally, you know, help the journalists who are doing a really unpleasant work day to day. So this, in the photo, in the middle, there's Olesya Bida, who was the author of that first film about deported children, and who is now working on the film about sexual violence in Ukraine. And she's receiving the main Ukrainian investigative journalism award. And you can see from the photo that she didn't expect to win. And next to her, on the left, Konstantin is our researcher. So they're stunned. And yeah, it was a nice moment for the team. Yeah, and just briefly, if you feel compelled by the cause, if you want to help us do what we do better and help us be more impactful, there's a number of things you can do. You can help us with distribution. We're looking for partnerships with streaming platforms, with broadcasters, any ways to spread the film. You can just cover our work in your media outlets. You know, we can give interviews about the new film and so on. We're very happy to cooperate. There is, of course, always there's a need for funding. So if you have any leads, if you can help us fundraise for the next documentaries to keep making them, that's also really welcome.
And feel free to set up screenings of our documentaries in your countries, in your cities. It's very important for us too.
Yeah, it doesn't take much. You know, we need a room and we need some help with organizing, but then we can actually send a member of the team to do the presentation and the screening. That can be on us, but you know, we need partners on location to help organize it. And a little bonus thing: we recently launched a newsletter that is that looks in the what it's like for the team to investigate Russian war crimes. It's a very personal one. It's you know, all of them share you know, little stories, little snippets of how they were reporting this or that, something they experienced, something something that didn't make it into the final documentary, but that was important. And there is a QR code, you can subscribe. And time for, we have 2
minutes.
What? No, we have 7 full minutes.
Ah, okay.
I think we have 7 full minutes, right? 4?
Yeah.
You're like 4. I'm like, I don't know who you are, but I trust you. Okay.
I'm Volnet from Kosovo. So maybe you know, we are now in Serbia, and Serbia, with help of Russia, it's planning somehow to maybe attack in the north. So I'm with my team preparing to create this unit, and I'm very looking forward. With your job, I watched all your documentaries until now, amazing job. But I want you to know something from you. Do you have something that before the war you should know, like any, like
something we wish we would have known?
Yeah, before the war was started, like.
First of all, I hope you never have to create this unit. Something we wish we knew before the war. Yeah, that's a practical advice from our CEO, Darina. Buy the security equipment as early as possible, because in the weeks before the invasion, when everybody understands it's gonna happen, they'll be in very high demand and impossible to find. So yeah, the resources, just basic ones like safety stuff, and they're very important in the first weeks especially. Yeah. Other questions? I was really trying to make it through the presentation in time for there to be questions. Yes, please.
So I have a question. Does YouTube make it transparent how they limit the reach of your documentaries, or do you have to guess?
Does YouTube make it what? Make it
Transparent.
transparent? How, like, what is the reason we are getting, like, yeah. So, so YouTube, we can see that there is a restriction. So it's not a hidden one. We see that there was a restriction. What we don't always know is like, and I'm gonna need your help on that, Yevheniia. We don't know like what exactly was the problem. We need to figure it out, right?
No, usually we don't know, and now we found solution. Our last documentary we published in YouTube channel of our video editor, and check it. And if we saw that there is some restriction, we analyze this video and try to find this problem piece, and then cut it from our full version.
So you can upload it to a private channel, see if it gets restriction. Then you make a guess that this is about this footage. This might be triggering it. You cut it out. You upload it again. You see that there is no restriction. That's how you fight it. But it's really, I'm really frustrated about it because it really shouldn't be that difficult to be spreading the word about Russian war crimes. And but YouTube it's a disgrace that they're doing it.
But unfortunately, YouTube doesn't send us a time code of these problem pieces.
Yeah, would be good if they did. We have 4 more minutes for questions. No? No time for questions? No, just one quick one. Yeah. Please.
I wanted to ask if you collaborate with any lawyers or any kind of legal people in your work on the war crimes, and if yes, how, and if not, why not?
Yes, of course, we collaborate with different international and Ukrainian NGOs, and also, as Olga mentioned, we usually share all our findings with Ukrainian prosecutors and law enforcement bodies. There were different organizations, Save Ukraine, who are returned children from Russian deportation, and other one. And of course, we cooperate with the different programs of the UN. How cooperate? We share all our findings.
Yeah. And with that, they're making signals that we need to wrap up. So, thank you.